looking back over INETCO's history, can you think of one bold decision in particular that was integral to your growth and success as a firm?
Yeah, this one's very close to my heart, and it's not too far in the distant past. We sort of developed our platform, and we came to market with essentially I would say, best of breed, first class transaction monitoring capability, bar none, I would say, globally. And we started building customers like Moneris, customers like Fidelity Information Systems in the United States, customers across the board, like major customers coming on board for that capability. But we were getting like 3-4 customers a year. This was not scaling. This was not scalable. And the reason is a busy area. There's a lot of products that were not as good, but they'd been around for many years prior. It was fragmented, and people it was a nice to have. It was, if you could afford it, this was a beautiful system to deploy, but the inertia, people weren't motivated to necessarily lock, stock, and barrel throw out what they had and implement our, really sort of best of breed monitoring. It was gradual, and it wasn't scalable as such from a revenue standpoint. But the data, the core platform, the data that we've got is pristine. The data that I described to you, which is the major differentiator, how we collect it, the real-time nature of it. When I say real-time, we're talking fractions of a second. We're talking milliseconds. Anything more than 3 or 4 milliseconds is not real-time. This is a rapid system that has detailed information gathered. So when push came to shove, we realized that as the world is going through these more complex distributed systems for payments, different forms of payments, different forms of providers, different forms of capabilities, all this complexity was resulting in a dramatically increased rate of cybersecurity and fraud attacks on these financial entities. And we made a pivot. We made a pivot in 21. We started working on it in 2019 in Skunk Works, essentially with a couple of customers. And in 21, we came out and we announced some customer wins, and we started scaling that. And that was a big decision with the limited funding that we had. We made a massive decision. We changed the business model to recurring revenue. And quite frankly, as a company, we created risky. We took on a huge amount of risk because we suddenly, instead of collecting $5 for a system that we would sell, we started collecting, this is anecdotally, $1 a year forever as it deployed. Much better in the long term, but short term it hurts your cash flow. So we created this gap that we have now corrected, but it took us 3 years of a lot of sweating and sleepless nights to be where we are today, and we did that pivot successfully, and we're now growing at about 40 to 50% a year for the last 3 years.